Greetings, this is Paul, your Pacific Northwest trail guide. I want to help you pick your next trail to explore, so let's check this one out. Up in the foothills of snowy Mount Adams, you'll find a rock formation peeking out of the woods called Sleeping Beauty Peak. A well-maintained and relatively short, steep trail takes you around the back and to the summit of this peak, where you can walk all over Sleeping Beauty's face and see multiple mountain peaks all around you on a clear day. The in-and-out trip comes in at a total of 2.5 miles with about 1,350 feet of climbing. The elevation at the top of the peak is around 4,900 feet. There's not a lot to plan for on this short hike. Most of the route is under forest cover, but keep in mind that once you get near the top, there's no shade and plenty of wind. So bring what you might need to protect yourself during your rest up there. You might even bring some binoculars to enhance your view. To get to the trailhead for this one, you'll first want to make your way to the small town of Trout Lake in Washington, and take the fork off to the left as you enter town to stay on Highway 141. Not far out of town, you turn right onto Trout Lake Creek Road. You soon reach this intersection where you drop down into Forest Road 8810 and follow that to this unmarked short spur of Forest Road you turn right on to get to the trailhead. This last spur of road is in the worst shape and quite bumpy, but a car with normal clearance should handle it fine in normal conditions. The parking here at the trailhead consists of finding a spot on the shoulder of the road. Pick up the trail near the middle of the swarm of cars and begin your climb. You aren't covering a ton of elevation in this hike, but it's short, so expect steep climb most of the way. The trail takes you on that steep, steady climb for about the first mile, where you reach a short flat section at a saddle, where the trail begins to turn back around the peak. You approach the rocky exposed peak and follow several tight switchbacks to the top. The first mile climb through the forest is steeper than your average trail, but the setting is peaceful and the terrain is easy. As it turns to the north, you might sense a bit of transition in the forest. In this more sheltered and less steep portion of the hill, the trees seem a bit older and with more impressive shaggy lichen beards on their trunks. A short zigzag in the trail here about a mile in marks pretty much the only fairly level part of the trail. Blink and you're likely to miss it. From here, things turn quite steep again as the trail climbs up and around to the north side of the peak. Before long, you start passing by rocky outcroppings, a clear sign that you are nearing the top. As you approach a clearing with a nice view of Mount Adams, only the few tight switchbacks remain before you reach the summit. This section of the trail and supporting walls were constructed in the 1930s by the Civilian Conservation Corps, making for easier access to the fire lookout that used to be perched on the peak. An impressive amount of work must have gone into placing each of these rocks. You might take a breather to enjoy Mount St. Helens on your way. Near the top, the trail splits off to the right to continue up to the highest point on the west side of the peak. Make your way up a little higher, heading that way, and find the footings of the lookout structure and take in all the snowy peaks around you. If the sky is clear, Mount St. Helens, Rainier, Adams, and Hood will all be clearly visible up here. When you're ready to part company with Sleeping Beauty Peak, carefully make your way back down to the trail to return the way you came. If you didn't already explore the east side of the peak, a little climb over these rocks would take you over there. Otherwise, down the switchbacks we go. You might want to visit the Forest Service page for this trail, which has some colorful information about the site's history. I've also read that some mountain goats sometimes hang out on the peak, but they must have been hanging out somewhere else during my visit. This is a popular and well-maintained trail, but due to its steepness and rocky terrain near the top, it gets 3 rocks for terrain. Keep in mind the time in this season you choose to visit, as you may run into challenges if snow is still hanging around at this elevation. It rates 2 clouds on elements. This is a pretty short hike, coming in about 2 boots for distance. Finally, climb rating is 3 out of 5. On one hand, you don't actually cover a lot of elevation, but it's packed into such a short distance, the steepness may be a challenge for some. That's all for this edition of Pacific Northwest Trail Guide. I hope I have or will soon help you pick your next trail to explore. I scouted this trail in July of 2022, but trails are always evolving. If you pick this trail and encounter any changes people might like to know about, please help out your fellow explorers by sharing in the comments on this video. I've shown some of the beautiful sights of this trail in what feeble capacity a video can render. A picture may be worth 1,000 words, but an experience with all your senses cannot even be conveyed in pictures or video. So don't take my word for it. Get out there and see it for yourself.